people are going to point to an Arsenal team that doesn't have guaranteed goals. Havertz, yes, we know. Jesus comes on as a substitute, doesn't really change the game for them. And you look at this opportunity, depending where we go in the season, a 0-0 draw at home to Everton, a point's dropped.
Arsenal are in the top 4 race, yes. But Arsenal are not in this title race. I didn't expect them to drop points against Everton at home at the Emirates. But it continues a trend. There is quite clearly a complacency and a sense of entitlement about what they expected to achieve this season. This includes even Mikel Arteta himself. Perhaps because they've been far and away the closest challengers to Manchester City for the last 2 seasons. If you go and look at the last 2 Premier League post-match interviews against Everton, against Fulham, by Mikel Arteta, the interesting thing you find is that he keeps talking about they fully deserved to win the game. Against Fulham, he said it. Against Everton, he said it. Which is very ironic, considering that in both these games, they dropped points. They dropped 2 points against Fulham. They dropped 2 points against Everton. So it's very ironic when the other team has, not might or want to or will, has, past tense, have collected a point from their matches with you, and the best you can come up with in your post-match interviews is to say that you deserved to win the game. So you see where I'm going when I say there is quite clearly a sense of entitlement and complacency. Entitlement more than anything else, because Fulham were completely 100% value for the 1 point they took off Arsenal. Let's not forget, Arsenal equalized in that game. Arsenal didn't take the lead, and then Fulham equalized through some dodgy manner or VAR call. Arsenal was the team that had to come back to level terms. In the game against Everton, Arsenal never played with any kind of intensity. If you watched that game, and if you were able to watch that game without any bias, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was never any intensity about Arsenal. There was never any real aggression about Arsenal. There was never any purpose in the final third that made you say the goal is coming. They were never knocking on the door against Everton. The passing was all sideways and backwards for the entire 90 minutes. I watched that game, and when I listened to Mikel Arteta in 2 different post-match interviews talking about how Arsenal deserved to win the game, I thought to myself that he really needs to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and needs to start objectively looking at his team's performances, because they did not warrant 3 points against Fulham. They did not. Neither did they warrant 3 points against Everton. Arsenal has challenged 2 seasons in a row. So the teams they are going to meet in the Premier League, the mid-table teams, they're just going to park 10 men behind the ball and hit on the counter if they can. And if they can't hit on the counter, then they won't bother, because a point against Arsenal is always a good point. Arsenal need to find a way to start going about their business in the Premier League. And I'm not saying that because of the title. I'm saying that because of even the top 4 race that they are in. So it ended 0-0. It's a Sean Dyche team, so really, what does anybody expect? They're just going to come into that match and they're just going to do everything to frustrate Arsenal, and not just Arsenal, any other team that Sean Dyche considers to be a bigger team to his team. They'll just sit behind the ball. Sean Dyche knows the teams that he wants to go toe-to-toe with for 3 points. And it's not any team in the top 6. Any team in the top 6 is going to get the Sean Dyche formula. 11 men behind the ball, set pieces if set pieces can bring anything, counter attack if counter attack can bring anything. If not, all men sit behind the ball, try and get your 1 point, and we are good. In this game, the onus was always going to be on Arsenal to make something happen, and Arsenal didn't make anything happen.